it's Noreen here with a new episode of Noreen's Homestead. I have been wanting to try and make my own ketchup for a little while now. So today is raining outside. It was beautiful earlier this morning. I was out in the garden, we were in the yard, and I was out there all day yesterday, but it started to rain, so I thought it might be a good time. I went to the store yesterday and found some really nice organic tomatoes. And then the one tip I'm going to give you is that sometimes at your grocery store, a few times a week, the produce section will bag up all the things that might not be sellable because they're aesthetically not pretty anymore. They bag those up and sell them really cheap. So that's when you want to go buy your organic tomatoes, because you're going to get them really cheap. I did not buy them on sale, but I bought the squishiest ones I could find, the ones that I knew nobody else was going to buy. So let's get started. I have 4 pounds of tomatoes. I have washed and I have taken the cores out of them. I've got a 1.5 medium onions, and you'll notice I didn't take the skins off the tomatoes because we don't have to do that. Like a 1.5 medium onions that I've just sliced and quartered. I have 4 very large cloves of garlic that I have roughly chopped. About, let's see, a half a cup of apple cider vinegar. We're going to use a teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt, a cup of sugar. You can use brown sugar if you want. You can use agave nectar. You can use honey, whatever. A cup of your particular sweetener. And here are our spices, which is what makes ketchup ketchup. We're going to start with a teaspoon of ground clove, a teaspoon of ground cardamom, 2 teaspoons of paprika. This is plain Hungarian paprika. It is not smoked. A half a teaspoon each of cinnamon, mace, and allspice. So what we need to do to get started, and the first thing I'm going to do is over here I have 2 tablespoons of olive oil, very light olive oil, heating on the stove, and I'm going to saute my onions and my garlic. And there was a little bit of water in the bottom of that pan because I rinsed it out before I started, so that's why it's sizzling. Okay, I'm going to get the onions going first, and then I'll put my garlic in. So let me do this and get these nice and sauteed, and then I'll come right back and I'll show you what happens next. We're back. I've just about finished sauteing up those onions and garlic, but I wanted to say something first. I've never made ketchup before, so this is my first try. And, you know, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I always like to bring you guys along for the ride. Win, place, or show, it doesn't matter. Good, bad, indifferent, it doesn't matter. We all learn from each other's mistakes. So better you watch me mess it up than waste it all, waste your time and your product and mess it up yourself. That way you can see what I did wrong. If I do anything wrong, we'll see. I mean, I'm kind of going by a few recipes I've read, and we're going to play it by ear and see how it comes out. And also, I did want to let you know that these tomatoes did not come out of my garden. I mentioned before, they came from the grocery store, and they are organic, and I did pay about $3 a pound for them. But that doesn't mean you have to. I'm doing this now so that when we start getting tons of tomatoes out of the garden, we will have other things to do with them besides salsa, canned tomatoes, spaghetti sauce, and all of that good stuff. But it's always good to broaden your horizons and try something new and different. Just because it's easy to buy a bottle of ketchup off the shelf doesn't mean you have to. So let's take a look at these. And I wouldn't go much past this. You can see that garlic is toasting up really nicely, and the garlic is... I
just fogged up the screen.
You fogged it up. Okay. The onions, I have this on medium heat. It's on a 5 on my dial. I'm going to grab my tomatoes. I cut them up. This is going to help the process of breaking them down. You don't want to throw them in there whole. I mean, if you had cherry tomatoes, you could just throw them in there whole, but you know, it's probably going to speed up the process just a little. I'm going to render all that liquid out of there, and this is going to be a long, slow process. We're going to go ahead and add everything to the pot right now. We're going to add in our sugar, our apple cider vinegar, here's our spices, sorry, Bring that in. Here's my measuring spoon here. 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of salt. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of pepper.
Too bad you can't smell this.
The beautiful part about making ketchup yourself, you can make ketchup out of anything. You know, we're so used to calling it ketchup and having it be tomato. You know, the word ketchup is actually, like, if you were to use the word ketchuping, it would be an adverb, and it would be to ketchup something. You can make ketchup out of berries, tomatoes, peppers. You can make ketchup out of anything, but all ketchup does have tomatoes in it, with the exception of fruit ketchups, which would be like cranberry, loganberry, blueberry, blackberry, raspberry. You can make ketchup out of anything. Ketchup is simply a very thick condiment, very thick sauce. So I'm going to turn the heat up just a skosh now, and this smells really good.
You did put a couple of our tomatoes in there. The yellow ones.
I did yellow ones. These were ready this morning. I pulled them off of that plant we saved from Lowe's.
Yes.
And I threw them, just cut them in half and threw them in there. But ketchup might be a really good thing to use when you've got that excess glut of grape and cherry tomatoes coming out of your garden. And because you don't have to do anything to them except wash them, take the stems off, and throw them in the pot. Because they'll rupture as they cook, and that's always a good thing. But, you know, easy is always good. So we're going to bring this to a boil, and I will bring you back when it boils, and we're going to turn it down to a simmer and let it simmer for about an hour and a half. There we go. It has come to a simmer. Oh, it came to a boil, and I turned it down to a simmer. And we're going to stir this every now and then. We're going to let it simmer for an hour and a half. And then we'll come back and we'll take care of what comes next, because we're going to get out the immersion blender and we're going to grind it up all smooth. So when we get ready to do that, I'll be back. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, this has been simmering, I'd say, for about 45 minutes now. And I've checked it, and I've decided to go ahead and do the immersion blender and blend it all up right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue reducing it until it's the thickness that we want. So this is going to be a little noisy. I'm going to go ahead and go. Careful when you do this, because it will spit at you and it's hot. Turn down the heat so it doesn't spit as badly. Smooth.
And once again, too bad you can't smell it.
Tell them about your ketchup story.
As I was growing up, our family would get together once or twice a year, or every other year. And we had one of those big giant black cauldrons, and we'd all get together and we'd make ketchup. And it smelled a whole lot like this. This is just a scaled down version on the stove.
Now, obviously that's not as thick as you're going to want it. It's going to thicken up as it cools too, though. And I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to let this simmer for about another half an hour. And then I think we'll be right about where we want to be. But you can see from where we started up here, it has reduced quite a bit from where we began. So really, you're concentrating all those flavors by boiling all of the water out of it. You've added sweetness, you've added acid with the vinegar, and all those amazing spices, which can be adjusted to your own taste. But I've turned this down to a 4. It's probably really hot. How's it taste?
Very good.
Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Oh, it is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sweet. It's got a nice balance.
Mm-hmm.
I might actually want that a little more acidic.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, then I think I'm going to add a little more vinegar to this mess. And then we'll go ahead and reduce it even further.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with 1/3 of a cup. Whoopsie. It's all trial and error, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Next time, I probably would only start with 1/2 cup of sugar. But now we have to balance out the flavors, so. That's a bit better.
A lot hotter.
It's a lot hotter.
Yeah.
We're going to reduce that some more, and then we'll be back.
Hold it up again.
Whoopsie. Hey, here we are. It's later in the afternoon, and I let that reduce for an additional 1/2 hour on very low heat. And I would say I reduced this by, at least half. And it's very thick. You can see how thick it is. It's lovely. It tastes delicious. And this is not the same as the ketchup you get out of the bottle, for sure.
This is better than Heinz.
And coming from him, that's really a compliment, because Rick likes his ketchup. But this is really delicious, and we're going to try this on some hamburgers tonight. It made a pint, and this is a little more than a pint, and then a 1/2 pint jelly jar. So 4 pounds of tomatoes. That's a lot of ketchup. That's more than, it's. If you grow your own tomatoes, it's definitely going to be worth it. If you're just going to make it yourself, then it's going to be expensive if you have to buy organic tomatoes. So this is something I wanted to know how to do. Now I know how to do it. Super easy, super quick. And it's not really quick, but it takes some time. But the results are definitely worth it. So there you have it.
Something to do with your tomatoes.
It is something to do with your tomatoes once you have that bumper crop come in later in the summer. Because we're going to be making salsa, and we're going to be canning tomatoes, making tomato sauce. But sometimes it's nice to know how to do something else with it. So you can make your own ketchup, and it comes out really good. So I hope you try this, and I hope you enjoy it. And until next time, I'll see ya.